So for number 9, it says the midpoint of AB is 7, 3. If A is 11, negative 1, and so just a quick sketch, we have 11, negative 1 might be somewhere over here. That's A. And the midpoint is 7. 11, negative 1 would be below the x-axis. And then 7, 3 is going to be somewhere like this, and that's going to be the midpoint. And so it says, what is the area of a circle with AB as its radius? So this point is not B. That point is the midpoint of AB. So B is up here. And there are a couple different ways that you can do this, but maybe the most straightforward way is to let B be x and y, and then set up an equation that said the midpoint between 11, negative 1, and xy is 11 plus x over 2, and negative 1 plus y over 2, and that equals the midpoint, which is 7, 3. And so you can set this equation up. So 11 plus x over 2 equals 7. So you're going to get 11 plus x equals 14. So x is 3. And then you got negative 1 plus y over 2 equals 3. So negative 1 plus y equals 6. And so y equals 7. And so you get 3 comma 7 as b. And it says AB is the radius. And so then we just need to find the length from A to B. And so we do the 11 minus 3 squared plus negative 1 minus 7 squared, just using the distance formula. Remember, the distance formula is the square root of the x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. So that turns out to give us the square root of 64 plus 64, which equals 128. And so the square root, radius is the square root of 128. To find the area, you're just going to do the square root of 128 squared, and so it's just 128. And so the radius is the square root of 128, so the area is 128 pi. Because when you square the square root of 128, you just get 128. All right, for 10, it says the height of a rectangle is 4 root 2. So this is 4 root 2. We don't know the base, but we do know the area is 24. So we know 4 root 2 times the base equals 24. So there's a couple ways to do this. If you remember how to work with radicals, you could divide both sides by 4 radical 2. That's going to give us 6 over the square root of 2. Well, the way you simplify that is by rationalizing the denominator, multiplying the numerator and the denominator by square root of 2. And so that's going to give me 6 square root of 2 over 2, which is the same as 3 square root of 2. So the other side B is going to be 3 square root of 2. We could have reasoned our ways to that answer. We knew we'd need to multiply by square root of 2 to get a 2. And so 4 times 3 is 12. So 12 times 2 is 24 to get that area. However you want to think about it works. And so that means that our perimeter is just going to be 4 root 2 times 2 plus 3 root 2 times 2, which is 8 root 2 plus 6 root 2. And so that turns out to be 14 square root of 2. And so the perimeter there is 14 square root of 2. And then finally, number 13. For 13, it says, what is the area and circumference of a circle that has a diameter with endpoints 5, 3, and negative 5, negative 1, 9? Well, there's 2 ways to do this, but the easiest is just go ahead and find the diameter using your distance formula. And so it's going to be 5 minus a negative 1 squared plus negative 9 minus 3 squared. That gives me 36 plus 144, which is square root of 180. 36 goes into 180, and so it turns out to be 6 root 5. So the circumference is just diameter pi, and so it's going to be 6 root 5 times pi. And then the area is the radius squared. Well, if the diameter is 6 root 5, then the radius is half that, which would be 3 root 5. When you square 3 root 5, you get 45. So 3 root 5 squared is 45, and then times pi. So you could have found the midpoint and then done the radius from the midpoint, but it was actually easier just to find the diameter and divide it by 2.